Smallpox, a name we now read in history books, was once a very real and scary disease. It was a relentless force that haunted humanity for centuries, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. It made people sick for centuries, leaving a sad memory for everyone. Families were torn apart and communities were left in shambles, forever marked by the scars of this merciless disease. We don't know exactly when it started, but we know it caused a lot of harm. Historical records show outbreaks that decimated populations, and ancient texts describe the suffering it brought. Imagine a sickness so bad that it could wipe out entire towns, leaving only empty houses and sad families. The fear of smallpox was so intense that it changed the way people lived, worked, and interacted with each other. From big cities in Europe to small villages in Asia, smallpox spread everywhere. No place was safe. And the disease knew no boundaries, affecting people of all ages and backgrounds. It destroyed communities and caused so many deaths, maybe even hundreds of millions over time. Hospitals were overwhelmed and mass graves became a common sight as the death toll rose. People who lived through it often had scars on their faces, little marks that reminded them of how bad the disease was. These scars were not just physical but also emotional, a constant reminder of the pain and loss. Everyone was afraid of smallpox. The mere mention of its name could send shivers down the spine as people knew the horrors it could bring. It was like a hidden monster, too small to see but strong enough to hurt many people. Scientists worked tirelessly to understand this invisible enemy, hoping to find a way to stop it. Just hearing its name made people scared, thinking about sickness and death. Newspapers and posters warned of its dangers, spreading fear and awareness in equal measure. Smallpox was a tough enemy, and for a long time it seemed like we couldn't stop it. Doctors and nurses worked around the clock, often risking their own lives to care for the sick. But even in the worst times, there was still hope. Medical researchers and communities came together, driven by the belief that they could overcome this deadly foe. People are strong, and the fight against smallpox showed how we never give up. The resilience and determination of humanity shone through. Even in the darkest of times, the fight happened everywhere, in labs, hospitals, and even in neighborhoods. Scientists, doctors, and ordinary people all played a part in the battle against smallpox. And finally, people won the fight. The eradication of smallpox stands as one of humanity's greatest achievements, a testament to our ability to overcome even the most daunting challenges. Smallpox was a mean and unforgiving disease, feared by many for its brutal symptoms and high mortality rate. It started suddenly with a high fever, chills, headaches, and really bad body aches. These initial symptoms were often mistaken for other illnesses, making early detection difficult. Imagine your whole body hurting, like every muscle was screaming as the virus took over. The pain was relentless, leaving patients exhausted and desperate for relief. Along with the fever, a rash would appear, spreading all over the face and body very quickly. This rash was not just a minor irritation, it was a sign of the virus's aggressive nature. These weren't just spots, they were bumps filled with contagious liquid. Each pustule was a potential source of infection, making the disease highly transmissible. These bumps were hard and round, like little pearls scattered on the skin, but in a bad way. They caused immense discomfort and often left permanent scars. The virus spread through the air and by touching things, so it was easy to catch. Public places became hotspots for transmission, making everyday activities risky. A cough, a sneeze, or even a touch could make you sick. The virus was relentless, finding new hosts with ease. It was on beds, clothes, and even in the air. Contaminated items became vectors for the disease, spreading it further. Smallpox was especially dangerous for babies, old people, and anyone who was already sick. These vulnerable groups faced the highest risk of severe complications and death. Smallpox caused more than just pain. It brought fear and suffering to entire communities, disrupting daily life and causing widespread panic. The scars it left often made people feel ashamed. These visible reminders of the disease could last a lifetime, affecting self-esteem and social interactions. People with scars were sometimes treated badly, like they didn't belong. The social stigma added another layer of suffering to those who survived. Smallpox was more than just a sickness. It made people afraid and lonely. The isolation and fear it caused were as devastating as the physical symptoms. Even though smallpox was so dangerous, people didn't give up. Long before modern medicine, people tried to find ways to stop it. Their methods, which seem simple now, showed how clever people were and how much they wanted to be safe. One method, called variolation, was used in different parts of the world. In China, they blew powdered smallpox scabs into people's noses. In India, people scratched their skin and put on a paste made from dried smallpox bumps. These early attempts were based on a simple idea. If you survived smallpox, you probably wouldn't get it again. By giving healthy people a little bit of smallpox, they hoped they would become immune. But variolation was risky. Sometimes people got really sick and even died, while others had bad side effects. Even though it was risky, variolation gave people hope. It led to a safer way to protect people: vaccination. In 1796, something amazing happened in the fight against smallpox. Edward Jenner, a doctor from England, made a discovery that changed medicine forever. Jenner noticed that milkmaids, who often got a mild illness called cowpox, didn't get smallpox. He wondered if getting cowpox could protect people from smallpox. To test his idea, Jenner gave a young boy a little bit of cowpox. Weeks later, he exposed the boy to smallpox. Luckily, the boy stayed healthy. Jenner's experiment, although we wouldn't do it the same way today, was a huge success. He showed that getting one disease could protect you from a similar, more dangerous one. This is what we now call vaccination, which comes from the Latin word for cow, vacca. Some people thought Jenner was a hero, while others thought his methods were strange and unsafe. But it was clear that vaccination was a safe and effective way to prevent smallpox, and it quickly became popular all over the world. When Jenner's smallpox vaccine came out, a new fight began. This wasn't a fight against the disease, but against fear, wrong information, and old beliefs. The idea of vaccination, putting something into your body to protect you, made some people nervous. Religious leaders wondered if it was right to interfere with God's plan, and others thought it was unnatural. Rumors spread that the vaccine had terrible side effects, even that it would make people look like cows. It wasn't just people's fears that were a problem. The early vaccines were hard to keep safe. They were transported long distances in simple containers and could easily go bad. But even with these problems, more and more people started to believe in vaccination. Governments saw how important it was for public health and started vaccination programs. Scientists worked hard to make better vaccines and safer ways to transport them. Slowly, things started to change. In the 1900s, the dream of a world without smallpox started to become real. The World Health Organization, or WHO, knew how harmful smallpox was and started a campaign in 1959 to get rid of it completely. This was a big job and needed countries all over the world to work together, share resources, and never give up. Health workers traveled to faraway places, bringing vaccines and hoping to defeat this old enemy. The campaign had lots of problems. Wars, unstable governments, and a lack of hospitals and roads in many places made it hard to vaccinate people. Finding and vaccinating every single person, even in small villages and nomadic communities, seemed impossible. So the WHO tried different things. They had big vaccination campaigns, kept track of where outbreaks happened, and trained local health workers. Importantly, they also talked to communities, listened to their worries, and helped them trust the vaccine. On May 8, 1980, a very important day, the WHO announced that the world was free of smallpox. This was a huge victory and the result of years of hard work, scientific discoveries, and countries working together. For the first time ever, a disease that had hurt people for thousands of years was gone. This victory wasn't just for one person, group or country, but for everyone. Getting rid of smallpox shows how powerful vaccines are and how important public health is. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, people can do amazing things when they work together. Even though getting rid of smallpox was a huge success, it also created some new challenges. The world celebrated this monumental achievement, but it also brought about a new set of concerns that we must address. Since smallpox is gone, most people don't get the vaccine anymore. This has led to a generation that is largely unprotected against the disease. Only a few lab workers and people in the military still get it regularly. These individuals are considered at higher risk due to their potential exposure to the virus in controlled environments. This makes sense to protect people from other diseases, but it also means most people aren't protected from smallpox anymore. The general population's immunity has waned over the years. This makes some people worry about bioterrorism. The fear is that smallpox could be used as a weapon, causing widespread panic and devastation. Smallpox samples are still kept in very safe labs in the United States and Russia for research. These facilities have the highest security measures to prevent any accidental release. It's scary to think that these samples could get into the wrong hands or be released by accident, even if it's not very likely. The consequences of such an event would be catastrophic. Getting rid of smallpox was amazing, but it doesn't mean we can forget about it. The history of this disease serves as a reminder of what we have achieved and what we must continue to guard against. We have to be careful and watch out for this dangerous disease in case it comes back by accident or on purpose. Vigilance is key to ensuring that smallpox remains a part of history and not our future. Smallpox reminds us that infectious diseases can be very dangerous even if we beat them once. The fight against such diseases is ongoing, and we must remain prepared and informed.